This is going to be very weird, and I hope my phone doesn't fall, though it falls every time I put it up somewhere now. So I just expect it to. And my phone is very dangerously sitting here. And I'm also going to be trying to do multiple things at once. So how that ends is probably telling. But anyway, I'm going to start this with this, I guess it's a few things. So research is really sort of a ritual, and this is mainly just personally speaking. So research really is a ritual of mine. I like my way of studying and looking into things. I think it's a ritual that I do, and it's a ritual in the Crowleyan sense, meaning change or influence in accordance with one's will. And by researching, I spend belief as well as disbelief and change my way of thinking, and as such my will, both consciously and unconsciously, through the absorption of information and whatever means that is through. And my will is, in essence, kind of to experience and have and feel stimulation and stimulation from, and have as many wills from different ideas as I can. I guess knowledge is sort of the will, and my will is to rewrite my will and mind. I don't, I guess I don't really care for the grandiose sort of ritual in like the Satanic Bible or the Satanic rituals. And, while I find some parts of that, some aspects of personal note, I don't really care for it. My psychodrama is in, like a Green Day concert or something. And, never have I ever experienced such a magical, ritual than when I saw fucking Green Day. Even before their performance, they played Bohemian Rhapsody. And I know there's the video of some 50,000 people singing it in forget one of the South American countries, with singing Bohemian Rhapsody while it played over the speaker system. You could feel that, and I guess the closest thing to that is basically when I research shit and find shit out. It's really cool. It's really fucking cool. But that leads me to, I don't remember when I wrote this, actually. Can I find it? When did I write this? I can't tell when exactly I wrote this, but I have a pretty good idea when I wrote that. So anyway, research. I guess I'm going to just be talking about things I've been researching the last few days. Number 1, prostitution in North Korea. Now, legally, under their laws, prostitution is not legal. However, that does not, and I'm talking legal prostitution. I'm not talking human trafficking, because that does happen. There's a very large amount of human trafficking of North Korean women to and inside of China. Anyway, so basically there is in North Korea this thing. So there's supposedly these pleasure groups in North Korea, which are basically, as it probably is given and probably presumed, it's for the, I have notes here. Anyway, it's for the purpose, it's It's for the purpose and maintained by the North Korean heads of state, providing high-rank members of the Workers' Party of Korea pleasure, mostly of a sexual nature, and entertainment for families as well as distinguished guests. Now, technically speaking, whether the whole system of this is still in operation isn't exactly known. In 2015, it was alleged and presumed that Kim Jong-un had brought it back after his father, but it's not known. However, the group was called the Kipumjo, which is what I just said, and it was an alleged consortment and could be back consortment of about 2,000 women and girls. And the prostitutes in this were known as the Minjokju, which was 18 to 20-year-olds sort of drafted into it. You know, they would be trained for about 20 months and then typically ordered to marry either Kim Jong Il-'s guards or national heroes. And like I said, although it was believed that they were disbanded after his death, it's believed his successor and current guy in charge reinstated it in 2015. And so each pleasure group in North Korea is supposedly composed of 3 different teams. As already mentioned, the Minjokjo, which is the satisfaction team, and it provides typically explicitly sexual services. Hangbokjo is another one, which is the happiness, and it provides massages, which I don't see how, I guess there's a difference. And then there's the Gamuja, which is dancing and singing. And yeah, there's that. And the word, and yeah. Anyway, what else I've been researching is genocides. Because genocides. And I guess also to kind of prove a point that I made, I guess, a bit half-assedly about the Holocaust being not special in its genocide. Just that it was a genocide, like any other. And so I've kind of proven that. I guess it was this has sort of been a confirmation bias of sorts. But anyway, I've looked through the entire last century of genocides. Not like looked into them all in depth completely, but I've looked into enough of them with enough research into each of them. So, and in fact, for one of them, the Bosnian genocide, I'm going to interview this family friend who was an escapee from it. So I do have that. So I guess I'll start with that one. The Bosnian genocide occurred during the Bosnian War from 1992 to 1995. And it was as a result of Serbian nationalism in the former Yugoslavia territory, then newly Bosnia and Herzegovina, or Herzegovina, and under this, the Army Republic Srpska. It wasn't, and it's hard. I'm not explaining this well. Anyway, I don't usually do this at all. So, anyway, it had 6 strategic objectives. The first of which being establish state borders separating the Serbian people from the other 2 ethnic communities. 2, set up a corridor between Semberia and Krajina. 3. Establish a corridor in the Drina River Valley that is eliminate the Drina as a border separating Serbian states. 4. Establish a border on the Una and Narveta rivers. I don't know how to pronounce a lot of this shit. Divide the city of Sarajevo, maybe? I don't know. Into Serbian and Muslim parts and establish effective state authorities in both parts. Ensure access to the sea for Republic Srpska from the and that was from the 16th session founding the state by the Bosnian Serb Assembly. And yeah. Then there's also there's a lot of genocide within the Ottoman Empire, especially towards the waning years of World War. The start of World War I till about 1923, there's a ton of just genocides that the Ottoman Empire does. And I think it actually starts in the late 1800s, but it really, really sort of ramps up. And it's really towards Greeks are very Greek, Armenian, and Assyrian are 3 of the most notable ones. And so, there was the Pontic genocide which was the systematic killing of the Christian Ottoman Greek population of Anatolia perpetrated by the Ottoman Empire, mainly during World War I and its aftermath. So it started about 1913 and went about to 1923. The total death count is debated. It's somewhere estimated between 300,000 and 1,200,000. It's kind of a hard statistic to nail down. Then I researched, I was researching the Amalek, which was an enemy of the Israelites in the Hebrew Bible. I read, I had a little note to myself, which says, the fact of the matter is, in total, the amount of people lost to genocide succeeds the number in the Holocaust, both with it included and excluded, which is thus far into my research very true. And then I read a bit of a book called, not a book, it's a thing, on the centenary of the Greek genocide by Hannibal Travis. Then I was researching burlesque a bit, and it's actually interesting because burlesque, it really only became erotic as time went on. At its best, burlesque was a rich source of music and comedy, and I was reading a thing called A History of the Musical Burlesque by John Kenrick. Then I was reading some Gnostic stuff from on the Rape of Eve, specifically from the Origin of the World text of the Nag Hammadi. Then I started really researching the Bangladesh genocide, which was perpetrated by the Pakistani, where the Pakistani military attacks targeted the Bangladesh nationalists, and it was mainly against selected groups in the Hindu community, and it's claimed that nearly about 3 million people were killed during it, and no scholar or anybody has really questioned whether any of the atrocities that happened there took place, which started on the night of March 25th, 1971, and carried on nearly unabated until the Bengali nationalists and with the help of the Indian Army, succeeded in liberating the country from the occupying Pakistani forces, which actually, fun fact, the U.S. supported the Nixon administration was supporting the Pakistani forces in that. Just fun fact. And they finally got rid from that on December 16th of 1971. And yeah, no scholar has really questioned the casualty count or number. However, one Indian academic did in 2005 posit that the number of victims were much less. However, her research methodology and findings have been critiqued as flawed and biased by others. And I recommend a lot of this I'm getting from a book called Centuries of Genocide, Critical Essays and Eyewitness Accounts. The 7th chapter is genocide in Bangladesh. Then I found this group called the Provo, which was a Dutch counterculture group founded in the mid-late 60s. It only lasted about 2 years, officially from May 25th, 1965 to May 13th, 1967. It was founded by 2 anarchists and an anti-smoking activist. They, as stated in their magazine, this is Provo has something against capitalism, communism, fascism, bureaucracy, militarism, professionalism, dogmatism, and authoritarianism. Provo has to choose between desperation, resistance, and submissive extinction. Provo calls for resistance wherever possible. Provo realizes that it will lose in the end, but it cannot pass up the chance to make at least one more heartfelt attempt to provoke society. Provo regards anarchy as the inspirational source of resistance. Provo wants to revive anarchy and teach it to the young. Provo is an image. And so that was from their own magazine. And unlike other 60s movements in the Netherlands, having specific goals, demanding what they wanted, even with all that, the Provos really were more known for their sort of theatrics and such. And it really couldn't be against anything, I guess, specifically, because it really was sort of, I guess, it seems more like a collective, because the range of people involved in it was just, and the range of interests it had and what it was doing, especially with theatrical events like word games and tongue-in-cheek white ideas. They were anti-war, they were anti-nuclear weapons, they were anti-military and anti-repression, and they did get in trouble with the law because their magazine they were passing it around for some stuff, and it certain parts of it did have stuff on how to make bombs, which, oh no, but I guess that's just how it works. So yeah, research as a ritual and little obsessions, I guess.